I'm going to be serving on the House Committees on Finance, Environmental Resources and Energy, and State Government. These are committees that give us the opportunity to try to improve the tax environment for Pennsylvania citizens, to try to help work on keeping clean air and clean water while providing for Pennsylvania jobs. And the State Government Committee really is just such a fascinating committee because it really is kind of a catch-all with so many things. This will be the 5th term I've served on the House State Government Committee, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm very pleased to have been working with the Policy Committee for the last few terms, and last session I was a deputy chair, and this session I'm going to be taking an enhanced role in trying to spearhead some initiatives with the Policy Committee to try to get around the state, try to help other members around the state to highlight what issues are important to them and to the state as a whole, but then also to spearhead some initiatives on where can we get government out of the way, where can we get the government overreach and the bureaucratic crackdown to be out of the way so that we can try to provide for Pennsylvania job creators, for small businesses, for entrepreneurs, and for people across the state to pursue their dreams. And I think that we have a huge opportunity with a new administration in Washington to try to find ways that we can work together to try to get government that makes no sense out of our face and instead focus on those core functions of government that make sense, that we can do well. I was very pleased to be one of the few members who had 2 bills go to the governor's desk toward the end of last session. One that I've been working on for a number of years now that I'm so glad to see get signed into law was the legislation enabling air guns to be used for hunting. Now, this bill provided for the opportunity for the Pennsylvania Game Commission to legalize air and gas-powered rifles and weapons for use during hunting. And I'm very excited to see that the Game Commission is moving forward through their regulatory process this spring, and I would expect to see some updates to the hunting regulations come the upcoming hunting season. Amended into my bill was also a legalization of semi-automatic rifles for use in hunting. Many other states currently already allow that, and the proposed regulations that the Game Commission is working on for the new hunting season include those as well. So to be able to expand opportunities for hunters to do something that makes sense, to recognize modern technology and to generate some interest in the sport and to recognize our outdoor heritage locally, I was very glad to be able to spearhead that initiative. Also, toward the end of last session, I was able to get some legislation over the goal line that corrected some problems with how we deal with career and technical schools based on some actions that took place in the federal government. And so House Bill 2338 was signed into law that's going to protect a number of career and technical schools around the state and thousands of students at those schools for their ability to access financial aid and their ability to sit for professional licensure. So to have that bill signed into law as well is going to be a huge benefit to Pennsylvania educational institutions and Pennsylvania students. Furthermore, with last year's budget, I was very proud to spearhead the initiative to get the sales and use tax exclusion for timber operators enacted into the Pennsylvania tax code. And I think that it is so important to recognize that timber operators are very much like farmers. They raise a crop, they harvest that resource, and they put that into our economy, and it's such an important resource and such an important source of job creation in our local area. And so with the legislation that we got passed last year that I introduced and that I spearheaded, come July 1st of 2017, timber operators will have the opportunity to purchase equipment for their operations with a similar sales tax provision as that is currently already enjoyed by our farmers and by our manufacturers in this state, to provide them with the ability to compete and to provide them with the ability to create jobs. I've got a few technical fixes I'm working on. One, some folks brought to me a safety concern that they have with school vehicles that are not buses. Currently, our transportation code does not provide for yellow lights on school vehicles, and I think that it would just be a common sense fix, so I've got a bill that would authorize that. I'm working on a technical fix with the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors to make it more streamlined for a township to fill a vacancy on their board, and that's a piece of legislation I'll be moving forward with. And I'm very excited to be working with the House Second Amendment Caucus on legislation that will make it easier for law-abiding citizens to purchase a firearm in the case of a computer outage. Currently, we have a system called the Pennsylvania Instant Check System, or PICS. And what this system does is it checks to make sure that when somebody tries to purchase a firearm, to make sure that they don't have a criminal history or some sort of a disqualifying factor on their record. Well, the problem is that this system has not been very very reliable as far as the ability of people to access that system at any time. There have been a number of days and very high volume days in the state where that system has gone down, and then people, law-abiding citizens, and not to mention sales people themselves, unable to conduct a legal transaction. What my bill would do is it would say, in the instance of a PICS outage, that a law-abiding citizen who has passed a background check, who has a concealed carry permit, would be able to show that permit in lieu of a background check and proceed with the transaction. This is a common sense, streamlining government, cut the red tape sort of idea that would allow law-abiding citizens to access their rights while still ensuring the safety and security of people and keeping guns out of the hands of people that would not qualify to pass that transaction. So I've got a lot of support from the House Second Amendment Caucus in working to put this bill forward, and I'm very excited about working on this and many other issues with the Second Amendment Caucus going forward. I'm very excited to have the opportunity to work on these and many other issues going forward. It's going to be an interesting session. We certainly have the opportunity to work on trying to continue to move forward with a balanced budget, continuing to protect our taxpayers. That's certainly going to be a challenge going forward, but it's something that I'm committed to, and I'm very much looking forward to bringing forth new legislation, bringing forth taxpayers' perspective in the budget process, and really looking forward to getting down to work and making this a productive session.